After being collectively for 2 years, aspiring artist Ben goes through a breakup along with his first real female friend Susie. She continues yelling at him, however, seeing that he just stands there without reacting, she starts off evolved throwing matters at him too. Ben is supposed to be focusing on his remaining YR of university, but he can't forestall considering the breakup because he doesn't understand why it fell. It doesn't help that he need to watch Susie flirt with a new man at some point of lunch, which makes him surprised if she had been dishonest on him. His first-rate buddy Sean says he needs a rebound to feel higher, but Ben has problem trusting the recommendation of a man who constantly has horrible success with girls. At some point of art elegance, he begins drawing a stunning classmate rather of a model, and the trainer scolds him for it. Residing in a student accommodation residence manor, Ben shares the constructing with 120 humans his age, so each nighttime he hears them getting grimy. Tonight, he can't sleep, so he comes to a decision to name Susie, waking her up. He apologizes to her and asks her to get lower back together, but she turns him down and mentions the new guy. Later on, Ben still can't sleep and begins searching at his pictures with Susie. He considers burning them, however can't deliver himself to do it. As days bypass, Ben develops insomnia. He tries a bunch of strategies to attempt to sleep, however nothing works, and even though he chooses distinct activities to hold himself busy, his thoughts keep going lower back to Susie. One evening, he's getting snacks on the grocery store and notices that they're searching for personnel for the nighttime shift. He fills in software and ends up zoning out all through the interview, but he receives the job anyway. Now Ben can begin using his insomnia to make you cash. One in every of his coworkers is Sharon the cashier, who is very best and inviting. One night, she arrives late and their boss Jenkins scolds her, but Ben can't assist noticing him getting a bit handsy. The process ends up being quite boring, so Ben zoning out and observing the customers, so Jenkins has to constantly scold him too. Sharon keeps her watch blanketed with tape and avoids looking at the store clock due to the fact looking on the time makes it feel slower. Ben's other coworker is Barry, who went viral at the internet once over a stupid bicycle video. Given that, then, he spends his nights at the shop on his scooter. Barry and Matt are in fee of the buffet and spend their time making beside-the-point jokes with the product. They also play pranks like placing naughty-looking shampoo bottles in girls' baskets to appear in the event that they buy them to use as dirty toys. One night, whilst Jenkins isn't round, Matt and Barry try to begin a scooter race, most effective to crash against a girl's shopping cart. 2 weeks pass, and Ben is caught in the store's boring routine. Desperate to discover a way to make his 8-hour shifts feel shorter, he starts imagining that he can freeze time as if pausing it with a far off. He picks himself on foot amongst all of the clients without being judged or stared at. However, he can stare on the women he reveals hot all he desires. At the same time as doing all this, having a pipe dream, Ben additionally thinks approximately his past and how he had become inquisitive about capturing splendor with his art. Whilst he changed into an infant, his mother and father took in a foreign student who favored to walk around the house without a clothes on. Seeing her naked form woke something up in him, and back then, he wished he should forestall time to stare at her for all time. Now he maintains imagining how beneficial it would be to be able to prevent time. He may want to undress the store clients and draw them to his coronary heart's content, admiring their beauty without reservations or judgment. He could fill an entire sketchbook just with random women doing their buying, and he might make certain to restore their clothes afterward. Ben might also use the chance to play pranks, like placing Jenkins underneath falling items. At some stage in the day, Sean visits Ben and gets him to speak approximately Susie, but Ben is tired due to the fact he's sharing the identical emotions over and over, but it doesn't help along with his heartbreak. Ben and Sean grew up together, and when they have been just youngsters, Sean showed Ben the grimy magazines he found under his dad and mom bed. This taught Ben a greater creative way of looking at the body and how positive elements looked up close. The lads got wood in their pants from searching on the magazines, so while Sean's mother stuck them Crimson Surpassed, she had concept they were into each different. Sean is a big fan of one-night time stands, which he calls having a Natalie. The call comes from a teenage neighbor he knew as a child, who could take money from men in exchange for displaying them her privates. On the save, Ben is sufferer of Barry and Matt's dumb pranks. The brand new employee Brian claims he is aware of martial arts and cleans by means of using special poses. While the guys mock him for it, Brian simply slaps Matt. Ben is slowly growing an overwhelm on Sharon and even stocks his meals along with her, even as wishing he could freeze the moment for all time. One night, Ben is devastated to hear Matt ask Sharon out, and she or he ordinary. Matt begins making dirty noises about his plans for the date, so Ben has to walk away at the same time as remembering all of the crushes he's had. His first one was an expert runner who he watched at Olympic activities. He became interested in her due to the fact she ran barefoot. His second overwhelm became his biology teacher, due to the fact Ben preferred the very tight sweaters and quite skirts she wore. The biggest crush of all have been a classmate named Tanya. In the future, she broke her arm and came to class with a solid, so Ben enjoyed watching her battle with it or discover methods to take care of her itch. While Tanya asked him to signal the solid, Ben simplest drew an X. After the cast came off, her arm changed into covered in hair and the alternative boys mocked her for it. Ben comforted her and informed her she'd become nonetheless lovely, so she agreed to be his lady friend. When Tanya requested him for their first kiss, Ben panicked and told her to meet him tomorrow. He was hoping that coming to high school on a Saturday without anybody around might make the instant more romantic. But Tanya didn't show up for the kiss and didn't come to class ever again due to the fact the circle of relatives moved out of the USA. In the present, Ben and Sean are playing chess, and Sean can tell Ben remains no longer nicely due to the fact he's losing. Ben stalks the situation with Sharon, and Sean advises him now not to lose desire due to the fact that most effective one date doesn't suggest something, but Ben is aware of Sean gets handsy on the primary date, so his advice method nothing. Tomorrow, whilst the night shift begins, Matt tells the group all of the information about his date with Sharon, along with a description of her bare body. The verbal exchange is interrupted via Jenkins, who pronounces they'll be playing a soccer healthy towards the personnel from every other department next weekend. While the day comes, Sharon indicates up to guide them, and Ben has to watch how Matt maintains flirting with her. The other crew has exceptional uniforms and excellent communique, so Ben's group doesn't have much hope. Whilst the healthy eventually begins, the other team at once proves to be superior. Ben's organization keeps falling and bumping into every different. No longer to say Jenkins continues taking business calls in the center of the subject. Their opponents from time to time play dirty, but the referee doesn't appear to observe, and Ben's team has to forestall Jenkins from beating him up. Brian is a completely terrible goalkeeper who by some means manages to make the ball bounce proper into his purpose location. With 1 minute left, Ben's team is dropping 26-0, so Jenkins wishes them to at least make one goal before the suit ends. In accordance to plan, Ben passes the ball to Jenkins, and he kicks it on the goal vicinity. Best for the ball to bounce at the metal bar. Matt right now kicks it, and by chance hits Jenkins' face. Bored with all this clowning, Ben imagines what it'd be like to freeze this moment and stroll out of the match to keep away from the disgrace. He might stare at Sharon for a second before going for a drink. However, the second could be interrupted through a peculiar noise. Unexpectedly, a guy might run out of the scene, and Ben realizes what a loser he is, that even in his delusion, he can't do matters nicely. Return to the fit. Jenkins's nostril is closely bleeding, so he wishes a doctor. Earlier than using his boss to the hospital, Matt asks Ben to take Sharon domestic. However, the duo finally ends up at a restaurant. Ben asks Sharon about her relationship with Matt. However, she says they simplest went to the movies as buddies. She's horrified to hear the lies Matt has been pronouncing, and explains she's single due to the fact her final boyfriend moved to the US. In Go Back, Ben tells her about Susie. They chat for some time, approximately their existence, selections, university, and their goals for the destiny. Sharon thinks painters are romantic because they can see the beauty in the whole lot. Later, while Ben takes Sharon home, they both experience as a substitute awkward, so their strive at kissing fails, and it finally ends up being a kiss on the cheek. The following night, Time Jenkins involves paintings with a cervical collar and bandages on his face. He claims he doesn't experience any pain and declares he'll be having a birthday celebration. Sharon asks Ben to be her date for the birthday celebration, and he concurs. In private, Jenkins tells the lads he needs a grimy dancer for his birthday party and asks Ben to rent one. The following afternoon, Ben asks Sean for help, and he agrees as long as he gets to attend the birthday party too. The duo is going to a bar and has a beer even as watching the dancer, who is a piece lame. While Sean negotiates with her, Ben can't help imagining Sharon as a wonderful dancer too. Regardless of what number of days or weeks skip, Ben still can't sleep, despite the fact that he doesn't assume about Susie a good deal anymore. All through his nighttime shifts, he continues imagining he has time-stopping powers. However, now, rather than searching at random women, he stares at Sharon and fantasizes about having all the time within the global to make hundreds of paintings of her. The nighttime before the birthday party, Sharon confirms they're going together and kisses Ben before leaving the store. This heals Ben's heartbreak, and he can eventually sleep again. The following day, he receives a call from a gallery saying they need to have his art. Ben gets excited, unaware this is another prank from Barry and Matt. Moments earlier than the celebration, absolutely everyone starts getting geared up and spends a ludicrous quantity of time in front of the replicate. Ben picks Sharon up as promised, and Sean shows up with his contemporary fling. To Ben's shock, Susie is on the party as well, due to the fact Jenkins is her boyfriend's brother. They have got a clumsy but well-mannered greeting, and Ben manages to ignore her without feeling horrific. When the naughty dancer finally arrives, she offers a great display for Jenkins. However, her bodyguard prevents him from touching her. Sean data the whole lot, and while the dancer turns towards the digital camera, he realizes this is his vintage neighbor Natalie, so he invitations her to live for a drink. Meanwhile, Jenkins tries to kiss Sharon and invites her to his room. Sharon keeps turning him down, yet Jenkins nonetheless receives handsy. Whilst he pressured feeds her some popcorn, she spits it lower back into his mouth and leaves leaves the room, no longer noticing Jenkins choking. Upstairs, Ben bumps into Susie, and she or he apologizes for everything once more. She says she won't stop thinking about him and kisses him just in time for Sharon to look them. Sharon turns around to leave so she doesn't be aware Ben pushing Susie off him. When Ben realizes what Sharon noticed, he desires he should prevent time or maybe rewind it to do things efficiently. He keeps wondering of something he should say to make her live. However, there's nothing he can do, and Sharon leaves the party at the same time as Barry slides downstairs in a container. In a while, Ben is going to Sharon's condo constructing. However, while she hears his voice, she refuses to open the door. Ben waits for some other man or woman to come out and sneaks in her to run upstairs to Sharon's rental. Much like it befell with Susie, he stands there as Sharon yells at him with all the fury of the arena. Yet again, Ben leaves with a damaged coronary heart and nothing to do. The subsequent night, Barry involves paintings with a collar due to the fact he got hurt at some point of his stunt, and Sharon is nowhere to be visible. While Ben goes home, he discovers he has insomnia again. The next Wednesday, Ben is going to the gallery and discovers all of it were a prank. However, the gallery proprietor nonetheless looks at his work and is very inspired, so this time Ben gets a proper appointment. Some day later, Sharon receives an invitation to Ben's very own exhibition. The nighttime of the occasion, Sean receives Became Down Through But Any Other Woman. Ben is glad to see lots of people admiring his work, or even receives a card from a gallery owner in New York. However, he simplest has eyes for Sharon's arrival. She's taken aback to find out that maximum of the paintings are of her searching genuinely lovely. Sharon congratulates Ben for his fulfillment and explains she were given a new task at a journey agency. Ben apologizes about the birthday celebration incident, and Sharon points out the artwork speak for themselves. At that moment, Ben kisses Sharon and pretends to stop time, but he leaves Sharon unfrozen with a purpose to pass outdoor. The snow has stopped falling midway, and now the couple can kiss with a beautiful sight surrounding them.